Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Real PR with me, Fiona Scott. Thanks very much for joining us today. I'm going to be talking about an area of PR called networking, which many of you will do, and which I believe is really important in the PR toolbox. So let's get into it.
Hi, Fiona. Thanks very much for having me today.
Tell us what you do, Tamsin.
So I work for McFarlane Sales and Lettings. We're a local independent estate agent with 4 offices across the Swindon area. My job title is New Home Sales Manager. So as you can imagine, I concentrate mainly on new homes, but I'm also based in our North Swindon office. So I'm involved in the valuations, viewings and general work in that office as well.
So we know each other through networking,
Yes.
and I'm going to go on to that a little bit later. But first of all, give us like a snapshot of your career and experience in estate agency.
I hope you got loads of time. I started about 30 years ago, and I actually started in new homes, working on new home sites. I've done new homes in Swindon, whether it be apartment blocks or big developments for big developers. I also worked down in North Devon doing new homes, selling in Westward Ho on the coast, so it was really nice. Then I moved to South Africa, and I did sales of a state agency in South Africa, and then my partner at the time had a construction company, so I was involved in selling the designing of that side of things. Came back to the UK, back into a state agency, another little bit new homes in Swindon, and then back into a state agency, and I also was self-employed for 2 years.
Gosh, so a huge wealth of experience. So tell me, why did McFarlane then sort of attract you when you've got so much experience? You could be self-employed. What makes them better than someone else?
From the self-employed part, working 7 days a week and doing VAT returns was not what I liked. I liked being an estate agent. McFarlane's is a family-run independent business. The owner of the company, Sean, he's always on hand, so we were short-staffed at the weekend. He actually came and did the viewings for us on Saturday. He lets us do our thing our way in each of the branches, so we do run them slightly differently. And it also means to say, compared to some of the larger companies, if we want to do something, we've just got that one point of contact to say, can we do this? And he makes the decision of whether it's a financially viable option or not. So it's a much more, you are a person, you're not a number, from an employment perspective and from a perspective of our clients.
I have noticed when you've talked about it at networking groups that we attend, you talk quite passionately about the way to sell in a estate agency and the way you treat people, because you've clearly experienced other behaviour. So tell us, first of all, what you consider, without naming any names, of course, to be a poor way to behave as an estate agent.
So not naming any names, I worked for some estate agents where in the mornings you did no appointments, and it was about how many phone calls you could make, how many appointments you could book, how many valuations, how many mortgage referrals, how many solicitors referrals. And the rules were that if you didn't book and make the right amount of phone calls, you weren't allowed out on your viewings in the afternoon. And that's quite a key thing for a negotiator, because in those companies, if you didn't attend the viewing and the person bought the property, you didn't get paid the commission. So it was very much like ticker tape up on the wall. You could see how many phone calls everyone was making, and it's a numbers game. And for them, it does work. The numbers, the more phone calls you make, the more contacts you make. I did get told off for spending too long on the phone to a particular property owner who I was trying to talk through the process. McFarlane's, it's not a numbers game. Yes, we would like to make as many sales as possible. It's a business and we want to make money, but we don't get targeted on how many phone calls. We do make mortgage referrals for the benefit of the client and solicitors, so that they use someone that we think is a reputable solicitor that help the process. But yes, we make a little bit of money from it. That's not our business. Our business is selling houses. So we are able to spend that time with each client and get to know them individually and not be chastised for spending too much time on one phone call.
When you were treated like that in the previous organisations, how does that make you feel as an employee, though? Because to me, that's like super pressure. Would make every day feel like a drudge, to be honest.
Yeah, it did. And yes, it meant to say that people came in and they were jumping straight on the phones to get those appointments. And The individual commission made it extremely competitive in the office, to the point of sometimes quite a lot of bickering and fighting over whose sale was whose, whereas at McFarlane it's a team commission, so we all get paid on every single sale. Let's just say I worked there for 3 months. I walked out with no job to go to. So it had that much of an impact. The pay was amazing, but they wanted the blood for that pay. And to walk out with no job to go to, I was lucky I managed to get the job in McFarlane's about a week later.
Goodness me. So do you think, though, that kind of behaviour ultimately leads to a high churn of staff and probably overall less productivity?
Massive turnover of staff. The productivity is very high, but it's not very successful. So yes, you can make lots of phone calls, but it did get to the stage with that particular company that we were phoning numbers that we knew would go to answer phone because it registered a call. So they feel that they're getting the numbers from you, but they're actually not productive numbers. They're not a very successful estate agent in Swindon. They don't have a good market share, and not a single person is left working there that was when I was there.
Well, perhaps they'll learn then if they listen to this. They'll know who they are, even if we don't know who they are. Well, you do, but we don't. Okay, let's talk about McFarlane's then. Recently I heard you talking about how, I just wanted really one example of how you treat people. Now, you were talking about a gentleman that wanted to move his life elsewhere and you were able to help him do that quite recently. So tell us about that, obviously without naming and giving away any confidentiality.
So he was actually a referral from a family member. So our Old Town office had put their house on the market and sold it within 3 days. So he instinctively contacted McFarlane's, and it fell under our office of his postcode because we have our own postcodes we look after. Went out to see the gentleman, and it was quite a long appointment. He's an elderly gentleman, very old school, had a lovely long chat with him and sort of said to him, look, when you're ready, let us know. You need to make sure, because it's such a major move, that it's right for yourself. Within about a week, he came back to me and said, I definitely want to go ahead. So we arranged then to go back out and take the photos and measure up for the floor plan. Now, normally we send one person out for that, but because of who he was, I went along to the appointment as well, and we had another little chat and a cup of coffee. And to be honest, I didn't really do much of the appointment. I just spent time with him. We spoke to the lady in the office who makes most of the phone calls. She managed to get a couple of viewings booked in. I went back to do the viewings, which technically normally isn't my job, but because I'd got such a rapport with the owner and we told him not to go out in the rain, we weren't going to kick him out of his house. I did the viewings and we got an offer of full asking price from the first person who walked through the door.
Brilliant. So you were really prepared to see him multiple times, chat to him, understand that that's what he needed. So everything kind of flowed. Yeah,
kind of disappointed because I don't get to go back now. And he's a really nice chap. So I might pop and see him after we've got further down in the process for another cup of coffee. He makes a lovely cuppa. But yeah, it's really nice because, say, he's looking to go back home from where he came from. And it's a big move for him. He's looking to go into a retirement flat potentially. So it's something where you really do need to hold their hand and walk them through the process. They've done it many times, but maybe not recently. Or some people, they've never done it before. So it's all about making sure that they know what each step of the way is, really.
And also, I mean, when I worked on Flog It, I would find this off, sounds mad, but people would bring stuff that they were getting rid of because they were older and downsizing. And that in itself is a big thing. It's not just about moving house. It's also about getting rid of a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I think he's hoping that the people who are buying the property, because they're upsizing, might need some of his furniture. So we'll see how we can help with that and let them know what he wants to leave. But yeah, it's a very big deal for him. And it's on the back of a not too long ago loss in his family. So it's quite an emotional process for him. In fact, I actually spoke to him just before I came out here today. So yeah.
Oh. Right, I'm going to segue now into how we know each other. So we met through a networking group we belong to, Professional Connections of Wiltshire. We've been members for a while. Why does McFarlane think that networking is important, Tamsin?
So we originally joined our networking group through a colleague of mine who I worked with at a previous agent that got me the job at the McFarlane's, and he was self-employed at the time when he joined. So when he came to McFarlane's, he suggested to the owner that it's a really good networking group, and he got some really good business from it. So we've continued it, and I think I'm the third person now from McFarlane to represent the company there. And we do get really good connections. We've sold properties for other members. We've had people passing information through to us of someone who wants valuation or just a little bit of advice from whether it's a sales or a lettings perspective. And we then obviously in turn pass on clients to those people if we've got someone who's interested. But it's a really nice, close group, this one. I've been to different other networking groups where you don't have a seat. And you just turn up, and you might be the only estate agent there, or you might be one of 10. So I particularly like ours because it's the same people you see every week. They're friends now.
That's right. It is a single seat group, so there could only be one estate agent, one PR person like me, and you do build very deep connections over time. I mean, for yourself, because you were, say, the third person from McFarlane's to come, those connections started to be established, but it's not the type of thing where you turn up and you immediately make a sell, is it, Tamsin?
No. I mean, it's a long process. And in estate agency, we're used to that. You go out and value a property, you might not put it on the market for another year. And then when you do sell it, it's 3 to 4 months before the completion goes through. So we're used to having long-term relationships with clients. So long-term relationships in networking is definitely what it's about. You don't know when the next referral is going to come through. It could be tomorrow, it could be 3 months. But it's all about building up that relationship and getting to know what everyone else in the room does as well. You find you've got referrals for people you never thought you would have just because of who happens to turn up on your day-to-day basis.
And you also, you'll attend on your day off. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so because I work Saturdays, McFarlane's is a very generous employer. I hope you're listening. And if we work a Saturday, we normally work 9 till 3:30, and we get a full day off in lieu the following week. And it just so happens that mine turns up on networking day pretty much every fortnight at the moment. I love the group. I wouldn't dream of missing it. The only time I have missed it is if I've been actually on holiday abroad. I don't want to pass it on to somebody else. I want to be carrying on those relationships. So yeah, I do turn up on my day off, and it gets me up in the morning anyway, so I don't waste the whole day.
McFarlane operate in various areas of PR. So you do networking.
Yeah.
You've also, as a group, raised money for charity.
Yes.
Fairly recently. Tell us about that.
We did a couple. So we did the Race for Life. And I think we had about 10 people that went along to that, including 3 previous cancer sufferers. One of them actually broke her ankle on the final 100 metres, and she carried on the last 100 metres because she'd raised the most that day. And then more recently, the same lady runs the Macmillan Coffee Morning every single year in the Cricklade office. So I love baking, so I bake cakes, and they get local businesses provide raffle prizes. And they do a really good job every single year. The town crier comes along as well for photos. It's a really good event.
So that to me shows a company that wants to give back and is prepared to talk about giving back as well, because that encourages others, which is good PR. But also you are on social media, so tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so we have our marketing lady. She runs the McFarlane main social medias for us and does our regular posts. But each branch runs their own social media accounts. So from our North Swindon perspective, our apprentice Rachel, she runs ours for us. We had to tell her what Facebook was because apparently the youth don't use Facebook. And now she's getting really good at it. We had the marketing lady come in and show her how to post something that's delayed. So it's scheduled to come on at a certain time. And, the social media tells us what the best time to post certain things are. She does post an awful lot, obviously, about our properties. And that's a really good brand awareness for us. But we do like to post other silly, gimmicky things as well. They seem to pick me as the person to do the silly photos. So there's photos of us with our new flyers and everything else. So we try and find something about what's happening out in the local area, whether it be a beautiful rainbow or a sunset, so that it's something a little bit different instead of just house after house.
Because you've been involved in sales your whole career, really, in different iterations. Why do you think it's important for a business like you to have a presence on social media?
It was never the thing when I started out. I mean, we used to go down the high street and pick up property brochures, but now people see it all online. It's just the way things are going. Do we sell properties through our social media? Probably not. Very rarely do we get an inquiry about a house, but it's all about your brand awareness, which is why we like to put in the other bits and pieces as well, to just show that we are actually people. We are approachable. Sometimes when you walk into an estate agent's office, everyone looks up and how can I help? It can be quite daunting for some people. So to have that slightly different persona really, and show that we are generally just normal people and you can come in and talk to us for, even if it's just advice.
And Tamsin, is there any advice you would give to anyone listening in or watching this who's thinking, oh, I always thought networking might be a bit of a waste of time. I've got to go out to the office every week or every other week or once a month, and I don't know if I'll get any direct sales from it. What will my return on investment be? What would you say to them?
Well, from our perspective, obviously per sale, we make a reasonable amount of commission. We've got a lot of overheads, obviously, but it's a good chunk of money. So just one referral for us can often pay for the whole year's networking. But the other side of it, I would say, is, and no disrespect to the boss, but he's from up north, and they do not put their hands in their pocket if it's not going to be a worthwhile event. And Sean's just signing up for the next year. So it definitely does work for us.
I guess then you're saying it is worth it, stick at it. You're in it for the long game.
Yeah, definitely in it for the long game.
Brilliant. Tamsin, thank you so much. Now, if anyone wanted to follow McFarlane's or you on social media, tell them where they can find you.
So we've got McFarlane's North Swindon on Facebook, and we've got it on Instagram as well. And then we've got the main McFarlane again on Facebook and Instagram.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed this, listening to Tamsin and some of her hints and tips. Now you know what a good estate agent should look like. If you want to find out more about me, please visit scottmedia.uk, or you can hop onto Facebook and it's Fiona Scott's PR Tribe. Just add your email and you can join it. It's for free. And of course, you'll find me on LinkedIn. Till next time.